Good evening. This is Michael Spice. This is your special monthly review show, where we will be taking a different path than last month's review, following a new format. So sit back and get ready to watch some history. Enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. Name's Wade Watson, and I'm going to give you a recap of anything you might have missed on this week's news. This is your Roundup Rodeo on Volt News Network. Starting things off, we saw the devastating effects of a powerful hurricane named Idalia, with authorities still directing the cleanup and repair efforts caused by the giant storm. Experts report that between $10 and $20 billion in damages were accrued due to the storm. That's a hefty price to pay for one storm. We also saw trial cases for those associated with former President Trump. With non-guilty pleas being entered into the justice system, we should be expecting to be hearing more about the whole ordeal leading up to the case on the former president in October. We also saw North Korea and Russia dealing in arms with each other, sparking an intense multinational and foreign policy debate on whether or not more international sanctions should be levied on the world's largest country for dealing with the rogue leader Kim Jong-un. The nation of Haiti saw a continued breakdown of their government functions as roaming gangs and violence deteriorate the state further, with U.S. citizens being advised to leave the nation immediately, on top of an advisory to not travel to the country. The Biden administration approved the first-ever foreign military financing, FMF, for Taiwan, drawing a permanent line in the sand with our policy overseas regarding the territory, without making an official policy change. The $80 million package will be paid for by U.S. taxpayers. We got word that Trump's trial has the permission to be televised, which some are saying would draw more eyeballs than the Super Bowl. We also got information from India's moon mission about the composition of the lunar surface by using lasers to turn moon dust into plasma. Student loan payments resumed, and so did the associated interest the loans will accrue. We got mighty intense storms waiting around the Atlantic, with Hurricane Lee continuing its waltz through the seas. It reached Category 5 status, and some estimates have said it has potential to make landfall. However, the most current models put the storm as taking a hard right and moving back further out to sea. We saw more of the Trump-related trials, and the results of one of them being that Peter Navarro was convicted, and one other trial was televised. Both of these developments set precedent for how serious they will be treating these trials, and that the televising of Donald Trump's trial is likely. Russia and North Korea are set to meet to discuss the arms deal they have been reporting about for the past week. This would be an alarming development, as the three neighboring countries, including China, are seeming to be strengthening their relationships with each other in what could be an extremely powerful military alliance. The G20 summit was much discussed this week and took place Saturday and today, discussing a wide range of events, mostly economic. China and Russia skipped out this year, which is not a good sign for international diplomacy, and is sure to put off a large message of peace going forward. Brazil will be the next G20 president. We had the peaceful resolution of the potential problem in the desert at Burning Man. The war in Ukraine had some intense developments, attempting to bring billionaire Elon Musk into the fray by attempting to use his satellites for war purposes. And Romania reportedly saw a drone strike on their territory, which neighbors allege but Romania denies, probably hoping for peace. We also saw the approval for more military aid to Ukraine, including millions of dollars worth of controversial depleted uranium rounds, as well as M1 Abrams assault tanks. These top-of-the-line machines, as well as the F-16s they are slated to receive. Hunter Biden is getting a court date for his offenses. This will be an indictment, and a billionaire was attacked during a climate demonstration. The CEO of Ryanair, the world's fifth largest airline. An earthquake in Morocco set more than 2,000 souls to rest, and a flood in Libya killed more than 11,000 people after dams collapsed. The controversy regarding Elon Musk and his Starlink satellites continued into this week's coverage, culminating in Senate demands to resolve questions relating to the Department of Defense and Pentagon contracts over satellite use in Ukraine. TikTok launched its shop interface or marketplace across North America. Apple unveiled their new iPhone 15. The East Coast got mostly lucky with the massive Category 5 Hurricane Lee, which de-escalated into just a tropical storm right before landfall. North Korea's Kim Jong-un met with Russia's Vladimir Putin all week, visiting missile sites, rocket sites, and weapons facilities. North Korea also launched even more test missiles. The Ukraine launched Storm Shadow or Neptune cruise missiles into Russian vessels. UFOs and alien bodies were reported out of Mexico. Who knows what happened in Mexico since that story hasn't been confirmed yet. The United Nations prepared for the coming high-level week in general debate with the ringing of the peace bell. Hunter Biden was indicted on a felony count, and China sent an envoy to the Taliban. And last in this recap of intense stories, the United Auto Workers Union staged a strike on the big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis. This strike is still ongoing, and the longer it does, the more pain it will bring. We saw the unprecedented UAW auto workers strike last through the week, potentially creating a huge strain on an already embattled industry. We saw the United Nations General Assembly with President Biden addressing the world with heavy pro-Ukraine sentiment. The president of the Ukraine also spoke at the UN, calling for more support. The president of Ukraine got on a plane and went to Canada. An F-35 fighter jet was crashed on domestic territory for seemingly no reason at all. There were talks of the national debt, reaching its all-time high of $33 trillion. The Senate ditched its dress code. A conflict broke out between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Canada and India have diplomatic disputes. The United States announced it was in dealings with Saudi Arabia for a possible military alliance. Neuralink is set to enter human trials. Illegal migrants were offered TPS designations to be able to temporarily work in the United States. Texas declared the crisis at the border an invasion. The United States government could grind to a halt, with large disputes over passing a continuing resolution to keep the government funded. A hotly anticipated antitrust trial against Google has been started. A storm passed through the South. AI systems saw large upgrades, and President Biden announced he will be striking with the auto workers. The week started off with Ukraine receiving its first M1 Abrams tanks that will fire that depleted uranium. Powerful stuff. Then we moved on to the writers' strike coming to a close, with SAG-AFTRA coming back to the table tomorrow as well. We saw the president strike with UAW workers, a historic first, followed by Biden giving a talk to the Pacific Island Countries Summit. Amazon signed a huge billion-dollar deal with Anthropic, an AI company, and Bard and ChatGPT saw upgrades too. The Google antitrust case is underway and Amazon is also being sued. The House struggled to get the government funded, but by golly, they got it passed for 45 more days. The UAW strike expanded, and the Senate enacted a formal dress code. Kia and Hyundai had a major recall, and Meta unveiled their new products. New York City declared a state of emergency over rainfall, and the first hearing of the Biden impeachment inquiry got underway. Former President Trump was found liable for fraud in a New York court, and the House Republicans got messy with infighting. That was a pretty messy week. Lots of stories all over the place, not to mention the developing conflicts in the Ukraine, Armenian, and Serbian conflicts. Boy, I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to cover next week, but until then, this is Wade Watson, signing off. Catch y'all on the flip side. Have a good night.
Well, that month sure seemed to fly by. Let's hope everyone has a great October, and I will see you all again in 30 days. Till then, this is Michael Spice with Volt News Network. Good night.